I was driving home after a long night shift when my GPS suddenly spoke. Turn around. This is not the correct route. My hands froze on the wheel. I hadn't even opened the GPS app. My phone was locked, the screen dark, yet the voice was calm, clear, and coming through my car speakers. Before I could process it, the voice said again, "Please trust me. Keep driving." I had no idea how my car was doing that, but 2 miles later, I found out exactly why, and it's something I'll never forget. Hey everyone, my name is Rachel, and this is the story of how a mysterious voice saved my life on a quiet highway in the middle of the night. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories like this one, and comment where you're watching from. Now let me take you back to the night everything changed. I had just finished a 16-hour shift at the hospital. My body felt heavy, and my eyes stung from staring at bright lights for too long. The clock on the dashboard read 11:47 p.m. I remember yawning, turning off the hospital parking lot lights in my mirror, and feeling that small wave of relief that comes with heading home after a long day. I worked as a nurse at a small-town hospital in northern Pennsylvania. The drive home was usually quiet, 30 miles through winding back roads and wooded highways, with barely any streetlights. I had driven this route hundreds of times before, so I didn't need GPS. I knew every curve, every turn, and even where the deer liked to cross. It was my nightly routine. The air was cold that night, the kind of cold that makes the steering wheel feel like ice against your fingers. A thin mist hung over the road, swirling in my headlights. The radio played softly, an old country song I barely noticed as I sipped lukewarm coffee from my travel mug. My phone was mounted on the dash, charging, and my Bluetooth was connected so I could talk to my brother, Jacob. He worried about me driving home late, so he called most nights just to check in. "Long night again?" he asked, his voice cutting through the low hum of the car. "Brutal," I said with a tired laugh. "We had 3 emergency admits after midnight. I'm running on caffeine and prayers right now." He chuckled. "You sound like you're about to fall asleep. Crack a window, turn up the music, whatever you gotta do. You're scaring me." "I'm fine," I said, smiling a little. "I'll be home in 40 minutes. Promise." The first half of the drive was peaceful. Just me, the fog, and the empty road. The trees on both sides leaned close, their bare branches forming dark arches over the asphalt. It was quiet enough to hear the hum of the tires against the pavement. I was halfway home when the radio suddenly cut off mid-song. Static filled the car for a few seconds before the speakers went silent. I frowned, glancing at the radio. Then, out of nowhere, a voice came through my car speakers. A calm, female voice that didn't sound like any navigation app I'd ever used. "Turn around. This is not the correct route." I jerked slightly, eyes darting to my phone. The screen was black. I wasn't using maps, hadn't opened any app, and yet the voice had come through perfectly clear. "Jacob, did you hear that?" I asked, but his line was silent. I checked the Bluetooth connection. It was still on. "Jacob," I said again, but nothing. The voice spoke again. "Turn around. This is not the correct route." My chest tightened. I wasn't lost. I hadn't taken a wrong turn. This was my usual route. I unlocked my phone, trying to see if the GPS had somehow activated itself. It hadn't. No open apps, no alerts, no messages. I shook my head, laughing nervously. "Okay, that's weird." A second later, my brother's voice came back through the speakers. "Rach, you still there? What's going on?" I exhaled, relieved. My GPS just turned on by itself or something. It told me to turn around. He laughed. "Creepy. Maybe your car's haunted." "Yeah, maybe," I said, trying to sound calm. "I'm just tired. Probably some glitch. Get some sleep when you get home, okay?" He said. "I will. Good night, Jacob." I hung up and shook off the weird feeling, turning the radio back on. The music came through again, and for a few minutes, everything felt normal. But that strange chill in my chest didn't go away. The fog ahead was getting thicker now, and I slowed down slightly. My headlights barely cut through it. I leaned forward, squinting, trying to see the curve ahead. Then, once again, the radio went silent. This time, the voice didn't say to turn around. It said something different. "Please trust me. Keep driving. My hands froze on the wheel. The tone was softer this time, almost pleading. My pulse quickened as I whispered to myself, "What is happening?" I reached for my phone again, but the screen stayed black. The car felt colder than before, like the air inside had changed. I tried to ignore it, focused on the road, and told myself it was all in my head. But the voice came back a third time, calm and insistent. "Keep driving, Rachel. Please, trust me." That was when my heart truly started to race, because no one and nothing should have known my name. And from that moment on, I knew this drive home wasn't going to be normal. The sound of my name echoing through the car speakers made my blood run cold. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, staring straight ahead at the endless stretch of fog-covered road. I knew I hadn't connected my phone to any navigation system. My Bluetooth was only for calls, and I'd never downloaded any voice assistant that could talk to me like that. The voice was calm, almost gentle, but something about the way it said, "Rachel, please trust me," made my heart pound harder. I tried to steady my breathing. "Okay, this isn't funny," I muttered, checking my phone again. The screen was blank. I even pulled the charging cable out of the port, thinking maybe the system was glitching. Nothing changed. The radio was off. The car's screen showed no active apps, just silence, broken by the hum of the engine. The voice didn't return for a few minutes. I told myself it was just a coincidence, maybe some interference from another Bluetooth device, or maybe exhaustion playing tricks on me after a 16-hour shift. But that small voice of reason was getting quieter. Every hair on my arm stood up, like my body knew something my brain didn't. The fog ahead was thickening. The world outside had turned gray and shapeless. My headlights barely reached 20 feet ahead. The trees on both sides loomed like dark shadows, bending toward the road. My instincts told me to slow down, but I didn't dare stop. I rolled my window down halfway, letting the cold night air slap against my face to keep me awake. I could hear nothing but the steady hum of the tires and the soft hiss of wind. Then the voice returned, quiet at first, but clear. "Do not take the next turn." I looked up sharply. The road split just a few hundred feet ahead. My usual route home turned right at that fork. The voice said again, firmer this time, "Do not turn. Keep straight." My heart started to race again. That made no sense. Turning right was the only paved road that led back toward my town. Going straight meant taking an old service road that looped deeper into the woods, a road I hadn't driven in years. "Who are you?" I said out loud, hoping maybe my car's microphone would pick up something. No response. I slowed down as I reached the fork. My headlights illuminated a worn green road sign, Route 14. The right turn looked familiar, safe. I could almost picture the little gas station a few miles ahead where I sometimes stopped for coffee. I gripped the wheel, ready to make the turn. That's when the voice screamed, loud, urgent, no longer calm. "Rachel, keep straight!" The shout made me jump. I jerked the wheel back forward and hit the gas instinctively. My heart thudded against my chest as I sped down the narrow, uneven service road. Gravel pinged against my tires. I drove for several seconds before daring to look in my rearview mirror. In the faint glow of my taillights, I saw something. Headlights on the main road, right where I was about to turn. They weren't moving, just sitting there, watching. A shiver ran down my spine. It looked like a black SUV, maybe idling with its lights on. But the longer I stared, the clearer it became. There wasn't just one set of lights. There were two, one parked behind the other. The voice came again, softer now. "You are safe. Keep driving." I swallowed hard and pressed the accelerator, trying to focus on the road ahead. The fog was thicker here, curling like smoke around the trees. My hands trembled, but I forced myself to stay steady. My phone buzzed suddenly in the cup holder, making me jump. I glanced down. It had turned on by itself. The screen glowed white for a moment, and a message appeared. 2 miles. Please trust me. I had no idea what to believe anymore. A part of me wanted to pull over and just breathe, but another part, something deep in my gut, told me to keep going. I drove another mile, maybe more, the road twisting and narrowing as the woods closed in around me. Then, far in the distance, I saw flashing lights cutting through the fog, blue and red. I slowed down, confusion flooding my mind. Police lights? Out here? As I approached, I realized the lights weren't moving. The road curved slightly, and then I saw it. A crash site. 2 vehicles crumpled together in the ditch, smoke rising from the front end of one. An ambulance was parked nearby, but no one seemed to be around. My heart pounded faster. I eased to a stop on the shoulder. The wreck was right at the intersection where I should have turned. My chest tightened as the realization hit me. If I had turned right when I planned to, I would have driven straight into that crash at full speed. I covered my mouth with my hand, staring at the wreckage through the fog. The timing, the warning, it all lined up. The GPS hadn't glitched. The voice, whatever it was, had saved me. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold again. The black SUV I had seen in my mirror wasn't part of the crash. It was parked just beyond it, facing the road, its headlights off now, and I could see someone standing beside it, watching me. The voice spoke one last time, almost like a whisper in my ear. "Don't stop. Keep going." And without another thought, I slammed the car into gear and drove. I didn't look back. My pulse was racing, my throat dry, my mind spinning. I didn't know if I was being protected or warned. All I knew was that something, or someone, had just saved me from whatever was waiting in that fog. My hands were shaking as I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white under the dim glow of the dashboard lights. I kept glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see headlights coming after me. The fog outside was so thick now that it felt like I was driving through a tunnel of smoke. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs, and my mind kept looping over what I'd just seen. That crash site, that SUV, and the person standing in the shadows. I didn't know whether to trust the voice that had guided me away, or to be terrified of it. But deep down, I knew one thing for sure. If I hadn't listened, I might be lying in that ditch right now. I tried to slow my breathing, forcing myself to focus. My phone was still glowing faintly on the dashboard, even though I hadn't touched it. I leaned forward slightly, afraid to take my hands off the wheel, and saw another message flash across the screen. "You are not safe yet. Keep driving." My stomach dropped. I stared at those words, the letters glowing white against the black screen, and a chill crept down my spine. I wanted to stop, to pull over and call for help, but the voice, now almost like an instinct inside my head, kept urging me forward. The road twisted through the trees, the fog breaking in short bursts that revealed nothing but empty highway and leafless branches reaching into the mist. Every so often, I thought I saw movement at the edges of my headlights, a figure, a shape, something watching, but it would vanish when I blinked. My mind was running wild. I kept asking myself questions with no answers. Who had spoken to me? How did my phone know my name? And if this wasn't a glitch, what exactly was it protecting me from? Up ahead, the road widened slightly, and I spotted a small gas station, a lonely building with flickering lights and a single pickup truck parked beside it. Relief washed over me. I needed people, witnesses, anything that made me feel grounded in reality again. As I pulled into the gravel lot, my phone buzzed again. Another message appeared. "Stop here. Wait inside." I hesitated. "Okay," I said out loud, my voice trembling. "If this is some weird prank, you win." But even as I said it, a part of me trusted it. I parked near the entrance, grabbed my bag, and hurried inside. The bell above the door jingled, and the warmth hit me instantly. The gas station was small, 2 aisles of snacks, a counter, and an older man behind it flipping through a magazine. He looked up, startled, probably because I burst in looking pale and shaken. "Everything all right, miss?" he asked. I nodded too quickly. "Yeah, my GPS glitched or something. I think someone's following me." The words spilled out before I could stop them. His expression changed immediately from confusion to concern. He stepped around the counter. "Sit down. You look like you've seen a ghost." I sat on a stool near the coffee machine while he picked up his phone and called the local sheriff's office. "We've had a couple of weird things happen out here lately," he said while waiting for them to pick up. "You did the right thing, stopping here." The mention of weird things made my stomach tighten again. "What do you mean?" I asked. He lowered his voice. Few nights ago, a trucker swore he saw lights in the woods. 2 vehicles parked in the same spot you just came from. Then the next morning, that crash happened. Nobody knows what really went down. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed again. The old man looked at me questioningly, and I slowly turned the screen toward myself. The message read, "Stay where you are. Do not leave with anyone you don't know." I showed him, and his eyes widened slightly. "You sure you're not pranking me?" "I swear I'm not," I said, my voice breaking. "It's been talking to me for the last hour. It knew things it couldn't possibly know." He shook his head, muttering, "Well, whatever's going on, we'll let the sheriff sort it out." 15 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up outside. The blue and red lights flashed through the fog, and for the first time all night, I felt a wave of relief. The officer stepped inside, a tall man in his 40s with kind eyes and a calm voice. His name tag read Nolan. "Ma'am, I'm Officer Nolan. You the one who called in?" I nodded. "Yes." My GPS started giving me warnings. It told me to take a different road. It said my name. He studied me for a moment, probably deciding if I was just another exhausted driver imagining things. Then he said, "You said you saw a crash back there?" "Yes," I said, gripping the edge of the counter. "Right where I was supposed to turn. There were police lights and cars, but no one around." He glanced toward the door, frowning. "There aren't any active scenes in that area right now. Dispatch would have told me." My stomach twisted, but I saw it. There was smoke, flashing lights, everything. He looked thoughtful, then motioned for me to stay put. "All right, let's check it out. You can follow me in your car. Just stay close." The old man handed me a small flashlight. "Take this, just in case." I thanked him, took a deep breath, and stepped outside. The fog had lifted slightly, revealing the quiet stretch of road. The officer's cruiser pulled ahead, its lights flashing softly, and I followed close behind. As we drove, I felt the tension ease just a little. The road that had felt so menacing minutes ago now seemed calm, normal even. But when we reached the intersection where I'd seen the crash, my relief vanished. There was nothing there. No cars, no tire marks, no broken glass. The road was spotless. Officer Nolan stepped out, scanning the area with his flashlight. I sat in my car, staring at the empty space, my heart pounding again. That's when my phone buzzed once more. I looked down at the screen. 2 miles ahead, you'll understand. And even though fear gripped every part of me, I started the engine again, because somehow I knew that whatever this was, it wasn't over yet. I followed Officer Nolan's cruiser down the quiet, winding road. The red and blue lights flashed rhythmically, cutting through the mist like slow pulses. The forest around us was silent now. No crickets, no wind, just the distant hum of the patrol car's engine and my own shallow breathing. Every second felt stretched, heavy with anticipation. My hands were still trembling, but I kept them steady on the steering wheel. I didn't know what I was driving toward, only that my phone's message had told me to keep going. 2 miles ahead, it said. 2 miles to find out why. When we reached the 2-mile mark, the road opened up slightly. The fog thinned enough to reveal a wide dirt pull-off on the right side, half hidden by trees. Officer Nolan slowed down, his headlights sweeping across the area. Then he came to a stop. I pulled in behind him, heart hammering in. My chest. I expected him to get out, but instead, he sat in his car for a moment, talking into his radio. After a few seconds, he stepped out, flashlight in hand, and motioned for me to stay behind him. The air was cold enough to sting my lungs when I opened the door. Gravel crunched under my shoes as I stepped out, hugging my jacket tight. "What is this place?" I asked quietly, my voice shaky. "Old rest area," he replied, scanning the woods with his flashlight. "No one's supposed to come through here anymore. State closed it down after an incident a few years back." That word, incident, made my chest tighten. What kind of incident? He didn't answer right away. He crouched down near the edge of the clearing, his beam illuminating something on the ground. I took a hesitant step closer. My stomach twisted when I saw what he was looking at. 2 deep tire tracks leading straight into the trees, as if a vehicle had left the road in a hurry. The soil around them looked disturbed, like it had been driven over recently. These are fresh, he said quietly. A few hours old, maybe. A chill crawled up my spine. You think it's connected to what I saw? He looked at me, the flashlight beam catching the fear on my face. Maybe, he said, but let's not jump to conclusions. He straightened and walked toward the trees. I hesitated, then followed, my shoes crunching twigs beneath me. The deeper we went, the colder it felt. The air was heavy, damp, and filled with that smell of wet leaves and metal. After maybe 30 feet, the beam from his flashlight hit something shiny. He stepped closer, and the light revealed the front bumper of a vehicle buried partially in the underbrush. It was an SUV, black, just like the one I had seen earlier. My breath caught. That's it, I said, my voice cracking. That's the car I saw. He examined it carefully, moving his light along the side. The windows were shattered, the front end crushed against a tree. Then he stopped suddenly and said, "Wait here." I froze as he walked around to the driver's side, opened the door, and leaned in. For a few seconds there was silence. Then his voice came out low and tense. "Stay where you are, Rachel." My pulse spiked. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. He reached for his radio, speaking into it in quick, clipped tones. I couldn't hear what he was saying. Then, slowly, he stepped back from the SUV. Even from where I stood, I could see his jaw tighten. "Officer?" I said, stepping closer despite his warning. "What's going on?" He turned toward me, his face pale in the glow of the flashlight. "There are 2 people inside," he said quietly. "Both deceased." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. My knees went weak. "Deceased?" I repeated. He nodded grimly. "Looks like they've been here for a while. Weeks, maybe months." That didn't make sense. "No, I saw that car tonight. It was parked by the road. There were people standing beside it, waving for help." He shook his head. "That's not possible." My heart raced. "I'm telling you, I saw them. They were alive. They looked right at me." He looked at me for a long moment, then said softly, "Rachel, those bodies are wearing the same kind of dark clothes you just described. Whoever you saw tonight, they weren't alive." The ground seemed to shift beneath me. My head spun, and I stumbled backward until my back hit a tree. The woods felt suffocating now, the silence pressing in from all sides. My mind screamed for logic, for an explanation that made sense, but nothing did. How could I have seen people standing by a car that had been wrecked and abandoned for months? Before I could speak again, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with trembling hands. The screen lit up with a single new message. "Now you know why I told you to keep driving." My breath caught in my throat. The officer noticed the glow from my phone. "Is that the same message source?" he asked. I nodded, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's like it's been watching everything." He stared at the trees, his expression serious. "You should go home, Ms. Moore. I'll have a team investigate this area." But as he turned toward his car, something flickered on my phone again. Another message. "Don't leave yet." And before I could react, a noise came from behind the wrecked SUV, a low metallic creak followed by a muffled thud. The officer whipped around, gun drawn, shouting, "Who's there?" I froze, staring into the dark. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, faintly, from somewhere beyond the wreck, a whisper floated through the trees. It was a woman's voice, soft, pleading, and horribly familiar. "Please help us." Every hair on my body stood up. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I backed away slowly, clutching the phone like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. The voice came again, closer this time, as if it was right behind the wreckage. "Rachel, thank you for not stopping." That was the moment I realized. The voice on the GPS, the one that had saved me, belonged to her. Whoever had died in that car was the one who had somehow warned me. She'd made sure I didn't end up like them. Officer Nolan kept his flashlight fixed on the wreck, his jaw tight, but neither of us said another word. Whatever had happened here went far beyond what either of us could understand. I turned toward my car, the phone still glowing in my hand. One final message appeared on the screen before it went black again. "It's over now. Go home." And this time, I listened. The drive home that night felt longer than any drive I'd ever taken in my life. My hands were cold, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles hurt. The forest around me was silent, and though I knew the road well, every turn felt unfamiliar. I kept checking my rearview mirror, half expecting to see the flash of headlights or a shadow moving in the fog, but there was nothing, just the steady rhythm of my tires on the pavement and the faint hum of my car engine. When I finally pulled into my driveway, I cut the engine and sat there for several minutes, too shaken to move. The house was dark, the porch light off, and for once, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt heavy. I leaned back in my seat, staring at my phone resting on the passenger seat. The screen was black again, lifeless, as if none of what had happened had ever existed. I pressed the power button. Nothing. The battery had been at 80% before I'd left the gas station. Now it wouldn't turn on at all. I forced myself to go inside. The warmth of my home didn't help much. I still felt that chill deep in my bones. I went straight to my kitchen, turned on every light, and poured myself a glass of water with shaking hands. My reflection in the window looked pale and drained. I looked like someone who had aged 5 years in one night. I didn't even bother to go to bed right away. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, trying to piece everything together, what the voice was, who it belonged to, and how my phone could have sent messages with no signal or power. At sunrise, I finally called my brother, Jacob. His voice was groggy when he answered. "Rach? It's 6 a.m. You okay?" I hesitated, unsure how to even begin. "I think something tried to save me last night," I said quietly. Then I told him everything, every strange message, the voice saying my name, the wrecked SUV, the officer, and that final whisper in the woods. He was silent for a long time after I finished. Finally, he said, "You sure you didn't dream some of it? You've been overworked, Rachel. Stress can make you see things." "I know what I saw, Jacob," I said firmly, "and what I heard." He sighed. Okay. Just promise me you'll rest today, all right? Don't drive anywhere. Stay home." I agreed, though deep down, I knew rest wouldn't come easily. Later that afternoon, I received a call from Officer Nolan. His voice was calm, but serious. "Ms. Moore, I wanted to update you," he said. "We identified the vehicle we found last night. It matched a missing persons report filed almost 4 months ago. A couple, Mark and Jenna Hayes, went missing while driving through that same stretch of highway. Their car must have gone off the road that night and wasn't found until now." I felt my throat tighten. 4 months, I whispered. "But I saw people standing next to that car last night. They were alive." He paused for a moment before answering. "Whatever you saw, it led us to them. Without your report, we wouldn't have found that site for weeks, maybe months. So, whatever told you to go there, it was right." After the call, I sat quietly on my couch, staring at the muted television. A strange mix of grief and gratitude filled my chest. I couldn't stop thinking about Jenna Hayes. The voice that had guided me, the one that told me to keep driving, had to have been hers. Somehow, she hadn't just disappeared. Somehow, she'd found a way to warn me, to protect me from meeting the same fate. That night, I tried turning my phone back on. It finally lit up, but everything was gone. No messages, no history, no data. It was as if the messages had never existed. But there was one thing new on my lock screen, a single photo. It showed the stretch of road near the crash site, taken from what looked like the forest's edge. The timestamp read 11:59 p.m., the same time I had been driving through that area. I hadn't taken the picture. I stared at it for a long time, then quietly set the phone face down. Some things, I realized, aren't meant to be understood. In the following weeks, I started taking a different route home from the hospital, longer but better lit. The fog never bothered me the same way again. I'd catch myself glancing at my dashboard sometimes, half expecting that calm voice to speak again. It never did, but every now and then, especially on quiet nights, my car radio would flicker for a moment, like it wanted to remind me it was still there. A few months later, I visited the small memorial that had been placed near the site of the crash. Someone, maybe their family, had left flowers, candles, and a framed picture of Mark and Jenna smiling together. I stood there quietly for a while, a lump forming in my throat. I whispered, "Thank you," before getting back into my car. As I drove away, the radio turned on by itself for just a second. A faint static crackled through the speakers, and then, almost too soft to be sure, I heard a single word, "Goodbye." I smiled, tears stinging my eyes. It wasn't fear anymore. It was peace. That night changed the way I saw everything. I used to think technology was just wires and screens, but now I know it can be something more, something that connects us to the unexplainable. Whether it was fate, a glitch, or Jenna's spirit, I don't know. But I do know this. Sometimes, the voices we ignore are the ones that save us. If this story gave you chills, or made you think twice about trusting your instincts, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more true and mysterious stories, and comment where you're watching from. You never know. Your next drive home might not be as quiet as you think.